Hello everyone, welcome to another segment of Interviews That Matter. I'm your host Raj Mehta. Friends, in this segment, we bring those guests who influence our lives. This includes elected officials, policymakers, heads of several organizations, and other dignitaries. It is my sincere hope that the knowledge brought in by these guests will help our community. Today, we have with us the Assemblywoman of the New York State 16th District, Assemblywoman Schimel. Let's go see her. Hello, welcome Assemblywoman. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming to our show. You are an Assemblywoman for the 16th District in New York State.
That's correct.
And tell us about yourself. How did you get started in politics? How did you get interested in politics? Before that, what were you doing? So tell us something about it.
Well, how I got involved in politics was actually I was asked to run for office, and that was a town office. I hadn't been involved in politics other than being a community organizer. I consider myself a lifelong activist. My issue for well over 2 decades is gun violence prevention. I was literally on the streets getting petitions, working with then Mario Cuomo to stop the assault weapons ban both federally and in New York State. So I started with that, and I obviously helped candidates that align themselves with that view. And as would happen, a councilwoman now, Lee Seaman, in synagogue one night asked me if I wanted to run for office, and it was a town office, and I ran for town clerk, and I beat an incumbent and I won, and then I became town clerk. And then subsequently I was asked to run when Tom DiNapoli became the state comptroller. I ran for his seat and won, so now I'm in the Assembly.
Wow, so you are in Assembly since 2007.
Correct.
So 5 years already passed.
Went very quickly, but yes, I can't believe it. It's 5 years. I can't say I'm new anymore. I'm not new anymore in the Assembly.
On the block.
No, Raj. I am. I don't want to say an old kid on the block, but I'm a little more seasoned than that.
Well, I've heard a lot about you anyway, through other people, obviously, that how effective you are in Assembly, because you are passionate, basically. You really believe in what you say, and that comes to one thing that when I entered your office, your district office, I saw a nice sentence written in a big letter on your wall. Can you tell us what it is and who
yes.
it is from?
Well, it's interesting that you bring it up. I like quotes. Quotes keep me going. They give me advice. And the biggest quote in my office is a quote from Gandhi. And it is, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." Is that what you must mean?
Absolutely, that's what I'm referring to.
Right. That is probably one of the most important things that anyone could, that it begins with you. If you want to make a change in anything, it has to begin with yourself. And I think it's particularly important for an elected official because it's sending a message, I think, to myself. If I want to see change, I have to do it. But so too when people come to me, and they expect me to help them, they have to help as well. They can't just come and say, "Oh, Michelle, fix this." We have to fix it together. And I think I send a message to the people that come into my office, and also to remind me that I have an obligation, if you will, to fix things and make things better, and hopefully show passion and compassion for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's what that means to me.
Okay, so can you tell us what is the areas of Nassau County 16th District, New York State District 16?
That's a good question. A lot of people don't know. My area encompasses the northwest corner of Nassau County, right off the border of Queens, Little Neck. My area starts with Great Neck, Port Washington, Manhasset, a little bit of Mineola, part of New Hyde Park, Herricks, as well as Searingtown, a little bit of Old Westbury, part of Roslyn, East Hills.
So how many constituents approximately?
Well, we're having a new redistricting, but somewhere around 126,000 people make up my district, yes.
Mm-hmm. So 5 years in Assembly, and obviously, you started new as an Assemblywoman, and now obviously you went through so many different legislations. What is your most accomplished legislation that you think of? Obviously, I already heard you that you are passionate about guns and
Right.
saving lives and all
Right.
that, so I'm assuming that's what it is.
Right, well, I'm going to have to say that that is what it is. If I want to be remembered for one thing, whether I pass the legislation or not, and may not be me, and I hope it is me, but maybe the next Michelle Schimel that comes along will pass it, but that's the microstamping bill. And I was involved in that bill long before I even got into the assembly. What that bill does is it takes semi-automatic handguns, and unfortunately that is the gun of choice, and it micro-engraves a code on it inside, and when you fire the gun, the shell cartridge, which is ejected from the gun, which people see on television when you watch CSI, you see
Right.
shell cartridges, when you put it under a microscope, it would then have an alphanumeric code that you could trace back to the original purchaser of the gun. Right now, murderers fire anonymous weapons, essentially.
Right.
You can't trace it back, and you'll see a crime scene, there'll be 25 shell casings, and they still can't find the crime gun, nor can they find the person that did the killing. With my bill, microstamping, they would immediately, police officers would be able to immediately start the process and catch that criminal that much quicker. And it's been a tough go. I've been introducing it for the last 4 years. It passes in the Assembly. It does not pass in the Senate. So I have the support of well over 100 law enforcement agencies across New York State, as well as mayors against illegal guns. I know you know Mike Bloomberg. He is a big supporter of it. I'm hoping someday, soon, it will become law and we'll be able to catch these killers and put them behind bars.
So what is the challenge? What are the challenges for not passing this?
Well, like everything else, anytime you have regulations of firearms, there is a very powerful lobby group, the gun lobby, that fights most gun regulations, sadly. I mean, I don't know why they shouldn't take the lead on this and be the ones to help, because if they truly care about putting guns in the hands of lawful people, then certainly they want to make sure that unlawful people and children don't get their hands on guns. But sadly, time after time, they fight against laws, legislation like that. So it's been quite a challenge for me for the last 20 years to pass what I consider to be sensible gun legislation.
So you're not going to give up?
No, that's not my way. If you know me,
I
Raj,
know.
you know
I know you well.
I don't give up easy. And I won't stop until it becomes law. And hopefully I'll see that mountain, I'll get to the promised land, but if not, the next Michelle Schimel will get to the promised land.
No, I believe that we will get through this, Michelle Schimel.
I'm hopeful, thank you. I hope so too.
Yeah. So Senate Majority Leader Skelos is against it or for it?
I think he's against it.
You think he's against it?
Yeah, I think so. Certainly his actions, I've never actually gotten to him to ask him. Maybe I should ask him directly, but I've had, Bishop Murphy.
Yeah.
Bishop Murphy of Archdiocese of Rockville Center has actually written an article about it, how he supports it. And my understanding, without directly asking Senator Skelos, is just based on the action of the Senate, that he would be against it. But, you should have him on sometime, maybe you'll ask him.
Well, I had it already. I had him already. Obviously, I didn't ask him that question. Maybe next time.
But I think the actions of the Senate speak louder than words, and they show that they're not interested in passing it, at least at this time.
Oh, okay. What are the major issues facing 16th District?
Well, the issues facing the 16th District are, I like to think, not very different than the rest of the people in New York State. Obviously, jobs are a concern, children not being able to get jobs, they're coming out of school. So too education, how do we fund good education? We have good schools. Environment is a very important issue. We have a number of environmental initiatives going on in the state that are hydrofracking, which I'm sure you may have heard by now. When I first got to Albany, no one knew what it meant. Now, everyone, almost everyone, and if your viewers don't know what hydrofracking is, it's another name for hydraulic fracturing, where it takes, in New York State, Marcellus Shale, which is a large landmass, which has believed to release, if done correctly, whatever correctly means, that they would release natural gas. And there are a number of concerns about it. That is it in fact safe to air, water quality, in terms of infrastructure concerns, and will it affect Long Island? Certainly it will. in terms of the remediation of the wastewater. It gives off a lot of wastewater. So that is certainly an issue I know of late that it has a lot of attention. Bipartisan, both Republicans, Democrats, Independents come to me and ask me what's going on with hydrofracking. And I have come out for a 5-year moratorium. It certainly requires a lot more understanding in terms of the health impacts, science impact, environmental impact, and I think there is no need to race into anything of that nature.
Yep. They should look for the long-term effect of it, otherwise
Exactly.
they'll rush into
What would
it.
Gandhi say?
Yep.
I think he would urge caution in this
Exactly.
in this case, that we have to worry about our children and our grandchildren rather than the immediate profit.
Profit, right.
Correct.
Short-term gain.
Correct.
Yeah. No, I've heard a lot about hydrofracking, and there's a lot of things against going on, and definitely your support is important for everybody.
I'm on the Environmental Conservation Committee,
Right.
and Bob Sweeney, who's the chair, who's also a Long Island man, has been most outspoken, and Long Island delegation has been leaders, if you will, on that issue, I believe.
Now, your district, the way you mentioned, is mostly North Shore Long Island,
Yes.
and you know that a large number of Indian Americans live,
Yes.
or I would say South Asian Americans
Yes.
live in your district.
Yes, correct.
So obviously the question will come up that, what is in your mind their contribution is to New York State or New York State's economy, and how effective they are.
Well, one thing that people don't recognize, the largest democracy in the world is not America. It is, in fact, India. And they have, the Indian people, in my estimation, have a love of democracy, and they love government. They are relatively new immigrants, but rather than a lot of populations come in and they kind of shy away from government, quite the opposite with the South Asian community. They embrace government and want to quickly join the ranks and get involved. They've had candidates, they do campaigning. That's something for someone who's a political, wonk like me, that's what you want in a constituent. And I'm very fortunate to have a rather large population in my district. So too, very focused on education, which is another piece of my puzzle, that you very much care about your education as well as the education of your children. They embrace, there's a reason why they come to the North Shore, because we have pretty good schools here, and they want the best for their children, and they're so close-knit and family-oriented, community-oriented, and that just resonates every time I have the opportunity, and I have a lot of opportunities to study and go to events and study religious Diwali events, and it's a pure pleasure. And it's a very warm, friendship that we have. And they're very involved now in terms of even state government, in terms of you see, yourself included in terms of information technology, medicine, teaching, healthcare. It's endless, the contributions of the community.
Well, Michelle, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Well, welcome back.
We're back.
My name is Raj Mehta. I'm the host for Interviews That Matter, and welcome back again, Michelle. Thank you so much. Let me ask you this now. As an Assemblywoman, in what ways that you can contribute to the success of our community, South Asian community? What is your, how can you help us?
Well, I think I've already started to do that. The key to any good elected official is accessibility and availability. I like to think that I'm available to people regardless of who and where they're from, what party they're from, what denomination, whatever, even outside of my district, to make myself available to their questions, their concerns. I have a lot of people that come to me, particularly Indian, South Asian. How do you get to the system? They need insurance help, they need a letter of reference for their child. That's really how I think I help the community, by listening, to their concerns, to answer their questions, to help them through the system. Government is very complicated nowadays. There's many different doors that you have to open, and I like to think that I am accessible to members of community that can come to my office and get an answer to their question in terms of how to navigate government.
And how can we help you?
Well, I think being informed, and I don't think we have to work too hard at that. I think that your community particularly is very informed. Read your get your local paper. Read what's going on. Know about the issues and be an active and loud voice for what you believe in, and vote for people that you agree with. And if you don't agree with them, give them a chance and tell them why you don't. I always believe that an elected official is only as good as the people they represent. Fortunately, I'm very fortunate. My district has very active constituency. They make themselves known. They email me, they call me, they invite me to events. That's how I keep a pulse as to what you want. And that's really, stay informed.
So be open, basically. Don't
Exactly.
be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
I'm not so tough. You should come see me
Anytime.
and talk to me, and my staff, and we're happy to help. And it's a two-way street always. I learn from my community, and hopefully I can offer a little bit. I find I learn more from my community than the other way around.
Now tell me something about, assembly, right? Obviously there are 150 members and you've been there for like almost 5 years. And you get to know a lot of people now, and you've been respected by even, Speaker Shelley Silver, and been respected all across. So what does your day look like in assembly? Do you know all of them now?
Yes, yes. We have a number of new members that came in this year, but I have to say I'm pretty well versed in knowing who the members are, and certainly who to speak to get things done. But despite what the press may say, we're a rather collegial bunch in terms of both sides of the aisle. I have friends, and I know you know them, both sides of the aisle, and we converse and we do work together for the good, if you will, of Long Island and New York State. My day is very busy. I hit the ground running. I get in early in the morning, and I usually have meetings, committee meetings, getting legislation ready. It's a busy day. I have to say I get my money's worth when I'm in Albany, and even when I'm in my district office. Just to let your viewers know, my district office is in Great Neck, right near the Long Island Railroad train station.
So I know that during the budget time you guys work until 3 o'clock in the morning, or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm. We had our first, we had an all-nighter. I know I used to do all-nighters when I was in college. I was much younger. But I have to expect every time we have budget, we have a couple of all-nighters, and we had one this year.
Oh.
Not my favorite activity, but yeah, we're up pretty late.
So you do work hard. I mean, people
I think
have
so.
to know that
I think we all work pretty. Yeah, no, it's they say it's part-time. It's not part-time to me. It's a full-time job plus.
Right. Now, Governor, Governor Andrew Cuomo has been successful in passing budget 2 times in a row, in time, and balanced budget without raising any taxes and all that. So obviously, you are people behind that success is people like you. Obviously you work hard in order to negotiate, in order to whatever goes on behind the door, closed doors or whatever. So what do you think about this governor?
Well, I think this governor came in with a very definitive idea on what needed to be done. Okay. For a long time, as people said, we were called, not getting the job done. We had delayed budgets, taxes, it was unwieldy. There were things going on in the Senate a few years ago, literally, it was kind of circus-like. I think the governor came in and wanted to make the people of New York feel that they could believe in their government again. I think we've succeeded. I think your point is well taken. We had 2 on-time budgets. We did not raise taxes. In fact, we were able to keep the state budget from growing, which is really quite remarkable in view of all the expenses and the services. In fact, New York State provides a lot of services. So I think the governor has set out, he has a rather formidable resume, and he set out with a plan. He accomplished his plan, and he's very ambitious in terms of his agenda. He pushes us very hard, but we've responded, and as a result, we have garnered new respect, if you will, among the electorate, which is something that's comforting to me. I've been in office 5 years, and I've had 3 governors.
See,
So
that's what I was going to ask you. That does that mean that other prior governors were not as effective, or I mean, I don't want to, I just want to ask you this question.
Right. Well, everyone brings a certain skill set to the job. Spitzer, I thought, was extremely qualified, but he ran into issues, personal, and it is what it is. Governor Patterson, very well intentioned, excellent legislator. Came in, first of all, you have to understand, these governors are coming in when the economy is really tanking from the federal government on down, and it's a push down. In other words, if the federal government's not doing well, guess what? The trickle down is even less. So it has not been easy for any chief operating officer of any government or business. These are rough times. But this governor came in knowing that and has been navigating, if you will, the waters, and has been able to tack from side to side and get to where he wants to go. And I believe the state has benefited from his sure hand, if you will.
So does that, like, he was a attorney general, previously, right? So do you think that helped him?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more I'm not sure if it helped him. He was he had certainly came in with a good track record as Attorney General. It's a very different job being governor than, one thing to be a prosecutor versus to be a chief executive. But I think he brings he's been in government a very long time. He has very good credentials. His mother who went to my good genes. His mother went to my high school, Matilda Cuomo. His whole family are very qualified. So it doesn't surprise me. And he also, one thing, he surrounds himself with very bright and incapable people too. And he's a compromiser too. He knows what he can and can't get done. And I think it's not easy. We have it's a bicameral House.
Right.
We have a Senate that's majority Republican and the Assembly, which is Democrat. He understands that, and I think he's able to maximize to get the most out of it.
Good negotiating skill, I
I imagine so, yeah.
Now, Assembly term is 2 years, basically, right? So many times, most of the time, what happens that as soon as you get elected, you start preparing for the next election. I mean, do you think that term is very short term in whatever you want to accomplish?
Yes.
Do you think that has to change, to longer term, so that at least you can do something, focus on something?
Yeah, right? I mean, who am I to second guess the New York State Constitution? But this it's been since we've been in business, which is quite some time we've been around the New York State Assembly. But certainly campaigning does take away from the work of government, but it's part and parcel of it. As you recall, I was the town clerk, and while I was town clerk, we were able to do a referendum, not as easy as the state level, where we were able to change the term of the town clerk from 2 years, which had been almost 300 years of a town clerk in North Hempstead being 2 years, to 4 years. In the referendum, overwhelming majority voted for the 4-year term. I dare say if we put before the electorate to make the legislature 4 years, I think it would pass handily. But again, it would require a rather, it's not an easy lift, but I certainly would be in favor of looking into that. It would save money too on campaign finance.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
You have enough time to focus on, issues.
Absolutely, it would be a good move, but other people would have to work with me to make that happen.
I mean, Mayor Bloomberg was successful in getting third term, so obviously, he could do that.
He's very resourceful.
Absolutely, deep pockets. Yep. What would be your final message to our South Asian community?
Keep doing what you're doing. I've been fortunate, as I had mentioned, to work with them, play with them, sing with them, dance with them, pray with them. It's a wonderful community. Keep inviting me to events. Keep being active. Don't give up on government. Don't give up on activism. Put out some good candidates. And they're part of the system. And there's really not much. It's more a question of them teaching me and keeping me involved with them. I don't think it's going to change. really find it to be a warm community that it's like family. When certain members come and go, "You are my sister," I really do think they believe that, and that's wonderful for me. So I thank them for their hospitality, and your viewers, who they are. They're a delightful constituency, and it adds vibrancy to the 16th Assembly District.
You know what, and I do remember you wearing an Indian dress in one of the Diwali functions several years ago.
Now I have quite a wardrobe, not just one. I have 4 outfits.
4 outfits already?
Yes, I
Wow.
do.
So I've seen only one then.
Yes. So I have quite a wardrobe now. Beautiful.
Wow, wow.
And I like to wear them.
Do you ever wish to go to India?
Yes, I do. In fact, we're talking about I would love to go to India. Yes, that's definitely on the radar for me. Absolutely.
Let's take an assembly delegation to India.
Ooh,
That'd be a good idea for
It
you?
would be a great idea. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time
Thank
coming
you,
in
Raj.
here.
It's a
and,
pleasure as always.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And again, thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, please email me at rajmitv@gmail.com. Again, that's rajmitv@gmail.com. Again, next time, see you. Thank you.